right? It's 2009. I was like, I felt like, okay, it's a new director. This is totally what happened with Star Wars and
Party for one.
this leads up to one of my favorite scenes in this movie.
Okay.
Like it's full on Batman.
Yeah.
So
What's up, Frank? Welcome back to the show. This is week 3. Pretty excited. Welcome back, everybody. We're moving forward. I'm pretty proud of us, Frank. Once again, that we are back at it. This last week, we did Too Fast, Too Furious, and it was quite a journey. We have moved on from there, still in the Fast and the Furious universe, but we're on to the next movie, Fast and Furious. But before we get into that, this episode is brought to you by blockbusterbraddahs.com. You can go there, check it out. We put our show notes there. We put a little extra kind of articles and blog posts about movies. You can also buy merch there and support our movie rental habit, because
yes.
Our startup fund, yeah.
What an investment that we're putting into the show, renting these movies that may or may not be good. That we're trying to remember if they are. We're finding out together.
And Too Fast, Too Furious, I had to rent twice because it was hard to sit through the first time. So your support would be much appreciated. And spoiler alerts.
Spoiler alerts, yeah. If you haven't seen this movie came out in 2009. So you've had a bunch of years to see it. Shame on you. You haven't seen it. You can pause it right now. Go and watch it. Come back and enjoy it with us. But yes, there will be spoilers ahead.
Lastly, our PSA for your parents out there. If you have kids and you're thinking about watching a movie, kids in mind, the score for this one is a 5.65. If you don't know what it is, Google it. You can find out. But
this ain't your mom's The Fast and the Furious.
No.
This is Fast and Furious from 2009. And you're probably wondering, what happened to Tokyo Drift? Mm-hmm. What happened, Kalani, for those people who are just watching for the first time?
Well, if this is your first time watching, go back and watch episode 1 and 2 so you can get all caught up with the inside jokes and everything that happens here. But basically, we're going over the timeline. And Tokyo Drift doesn't happen yet in the timeline. It actually happens, I think, before Fast 5. So that's the next one.
So for all of you people who ridiculously watched Tokyo Drift when it came out after Fast and Furious,
how could you?
Joke's on you. You should have waited. How many years? 17 years.
Yes.
You should have waited till 2009
and then watched it. Yeah.
Right.
And so we're going to be doing this movie, but there is another middle movie that you might not know about. And this one is bringing us up to speed from Too Fast, Too Furious, actually from the first one, and what happened to Dom, because Dominic Toretto, returns in this one. And he does an epic job in this movie, by the way. But we'll get into that. But basically, it's called Los Bandoleros. Okay, and he is, because at the end of the first one, he's actually in Mexico, because that's where he dreamed about going. And
post-credit scene, right?
Yes, that was a post-credit scene.
I didn't see.
If you didn't think to stay past the credits, there was a post-credit scene after the first one that put him in Mexico. And so they cut to Mexico, and we find out that there's a guy in jail that's talking about bandoleros, and I didn't really understand what he was talking about, but basically we see a guy walking through a town, and we find out that gas is really expensive, and we're going to war over gas and all this stuff, and so they're talking about that. And then they cut to a garage where a dude under the car that you don't see, but you hear the voice, and you know it's Dominic Toretto under the car, fixing the car. They're talking, and then this guy Han shows up, And so Han shows up, and he shows up in there. Yeah, and we find out about Han. This is where we first find out about Han. He's also in Tokyo Drift, but this would be the first in the timeline that we find out about him. And so he comes, and they're planning a job. They're going to do a job, and what they're doing is they're planning to steal gas, because gas is the fuel. That's the currency there. It's very expensive. They're trying to take gas and give it back to the people, basically, is what they're doing. Okay. And so they're reunited. We're reunited with Dom, but also we're reunited with Letty. So Letty shows up in this. And then Dom and Letty are reunited as well. So there's that whole dynamic going on. And that pretty much ends this middle movie. And that takes...
How long was this short movie? So I didn't watch Los Bandoleros because I forgot. So, and this is the first time hearing this story, and it makes a lot more sense because as we start this movie, it was kind of a random way to start the movie. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So this does give you kind of a lead-in to the new movie. So let's start. That's that movie. Let's start the actual movie that we're talking about today, Fast and Furious. You want to start off with the first scene?
Well, yeah. Well, first off, remember I told you this is not your mom's Fast. The Fast.
This isn't. Yep.
So, The Fast and Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious were directed by John Singleton. Mm-hmm. This one was directed by Justin Lin from Star Trek Beyond.
Oh.
And,
okay.
The other Fast and Furious movies, but totally different movie feel, totally different vibe.
It really was.
I don't know if he has background in writing for video games, because this is when the movies start becoming like full-blown video games.
Seriously.
Cool, right? To find out how we got from pink slips to nuclear subs and tanks.
Yes.
So we start off where in the Dominican Republic movie. And it's so funny because the first shot of this movie, I'm glad that Justin Lin paid homage to, the OG John Singleton. And the first shot, Kalani, is what?
Yep. Truckers.
The
truckers. Truckers are back.
It's not your LA truckers. It's not your Miami truckers. It's Dominican Republic truckers. So I was kind of like let down at first when I saw this trucker, because just a dude reading a magazine while driving full speed.
Mm-hmm.
While reading his magazine, driving. It's like a multi-tanker gas truck down the road. And what happens to him?
So after he feeds his iguana, little iguano, here comes Dom, and we see the whole crew coming down the street. We see Dom, we see Letty, we see Han, we see Leo, and this other dude rolling down the street. I think he's in a Monte Carlo. Is that a Monte Carlo?
The first car was a Grand National.
That's a Grand National. Okay.
Grand National, and then there were two tow trucks behind. But
it
was as soon as I saw this shot, I was just like, all right, it's 2009. I was like, I felt like, okay, it's a new director. This is totally what happened with Star Wars. And what's the director's name for the new Star Wars trilogy?
Oh,
not Damon Lindelof. Anyway, the guy who did the Force Awakens and all of those, right?
Yes.
Everybody complained that he just rehashed Star Wars: A New Hope, and you just revamped it with different characters. I was like, they're just redoing the first shot of the first movie with three cars that are not the same Honda Civics. They're going up against a trucker. All right, if somebody jumps on the hood of this car, this is a total. Letty comes out of the window. They're talking on walkie-talkies.
That's true.
2009 iPhones had come out by this time. I mean, we got Bluetooth headphones. They're still using walkie-talkies. So that's what made me like, this is the knockoff first movie or a homage. But
right, I could see that.
you got Dom and Letty in the first car in the Grand National, and then you got Han and this lady driving a tow truck behind them, and then the other two dudes that I don't know their name driving in another tow truck. It's Leo and this other guy. And they're gunning it up to the back of this tanker, and Letty just climbs out of the car and stands on the hood like she's got magnetic boots.
She's down, that girl.
Like, oh, this movie is a video game already. So what did she do?
Well, she jumps out, and so she jumps in the back of this tanker, and then she uses liquid nitrogen or something like that to
same stuff they used to freeze the T-1000.
Yes, that's the stuff. She jumps on there. She sprays the two of the thing
like connectors that are holding the tanks together.
Those things. Yeah. She sprays them. Yep. Hits it with a hammer and breaks it. But before that, one of the tow trucks driven by Han, right?
Yes.
Whips a 180.
Yes, at full speed.
At full speed, because
in reverse at full speed. You didn't know that. And this other lady climbs out and jumps on the bed of this tow truck that has no guardrails at full speed going backwards.
Yeah.
She got that big arm that's going to attach to the back of this tanker to tow it, right? And so if the hitch is the size of my fist, you got this ball joint kind of like fit that you have to make, right?
Yeah.
So this girl just jumps on the back of the tow truck, grabs the thing, throws it on, and first crack.
First try. Nailed it.
I was like, this girl needs this. She must kill at the crane game. And so like they locked on, and because it's already been broken off of the other tanks, Han's able to slow down and pull it off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he drives. He starts driving in the other direction with one of the tanks. And then what happens?
So Dom shoots it forward in his car, and then it was the next one's turn to do it, right? So the next one comes, does the 180 again, right? But they're teasing him because I guess he's not as good as Han. I guess Han is the man. He's really good at this driving in reverse, $120, right?
Los Bandoleros, did they do any of this in that short?
Not too much driving. Oh. No, they're just setting it up. Yeah. Okay. So we don't know that he's the man until Tokyo Drift later, right? But we find out in the movie later that he's going there. But during this part, pretty much this guy's flying it down. They come to this huge hill with like a cliff on it, right? Yep. And kind of like a scene from like Tokyo Drift or something. And so they try to do this again. Something happens. They aren't able to do it. And then, so Dom is like, Letty loses her hammer, right? Or something.
Yeah.
Right?
So she's got no hammer. And yeah, you're right, Kalani. So like they're on this like 2-lane road in the middle of nowhere. And the tinker is like, Dom knows. He's just like on the walkie-talkie yelling at them. He's like, we only got like 1,000 feet before the road starts grading, like going down at an angle, and it's going to be hard to stop the truck.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my question. If he knew that there was a big hill there, why didn't they do this farther back? Like, he should do it right before a cliff, this scheme. So, they start going down the grade, and gravity's taking effect. Even the trucker is just like, I'm not down. So, he sees, at first, I'm just like, this trucker really doesn't care. He's not going to take any matters into his own hands. He sees the car pulling down. Only until he looks in his rearview mirror and sees Letty standing on one of the tanks, right?
Yeah.
And he goes from magazine to full-on handgun, and he's like shooting at everybody, right? Yeah. But it's kind of late because now he's trying to stop the truck from heading towards a right angle turn on a cliff.
Right. Yeah. So this dude bails, right? He just he grabs his lizard and he just jumps. Yeah. And then so he jumps and survives, but Letty is trying to make it to the car with Dom.
Yeah.
I bet if she could have jumped and survived as well. If
but
trucker did.
instead of just jumping onto the infinite space of land around, she Dom pulls up and he's hanging out of his window like in this one.
Yes.
He's just like
reaching
jump to my hand and catch my hand. So because she has magnet boots, or I don't know, Hollywood, she jumps and she lands in the suit perfectly. And got his hand.
He climbs into the car. Yep.
Yeah.
And then the truck starts to it crashes, and then there's a big tanker rolling towards them. They stop, they do a 180, and then Dom like times it so that he starts spinning out, and then he just shoots and times it perfectly so that he goes right underneath the truck, and they survive.
I mean, I'm not so watching this first scene, I was just like, because on one end you've got the cliff, and the front of the truck with the first tank is laying on its side, blocking them from continuing on. They're heading down the hill. And then one of the other loose tanks that is now exploding is rolling down the hill, like Kalani said.
Yep.
He tries to grab under. And I was just like, this is like the beginning of a James Bond movie.
Yeah.
Like,
it really was.
Before the story starts, right? So I was just like, this is not what we're used to in the first 2 weeks of
Yep.
Man. So I knew we were in for, because he just slid under that tank and everything was all good.
Yep. Yeah.
So
that was the opening scene.
And high hopes at this point. And immediately in the next second, I was just like, oh, here we are. It cuts from this epic super spy beginning to crop tops and
we're back to the race scene.
It's just it's Fast and Furious. Music montage with mid-drifts and people walking up to cars, leaning on them. I noticed the lady to guy ratio in this movie seems 90 ladies to one guy. And it was funny because in the previous Fast and Furious movies, in these montages of street racing, it's always just like boombox battles, like showing like people playing video games in their car and stuff.
Yeah.
It was weird. It had like ladies and then guys filling up gas.
Yeah.
Guys filling up gas. Like,
well, they're in Mexico, right?
And then a guy like putting the nozzle in his tank and filling up.
Yeah.
And then another guy filling up the tank. I'm just like, what is going on? But yeah, it's like Mad Max, you said. So I guess they didn't have TV VCR combos in Dominican Republic.
Yeah, all right, Dominican Republic. Yeah. So
this is and go to so many locations in this movie, like compared to
It does. Okay, so during this party scene, we find out that that they're on to Dom. Like somebody's on to. They say they're on to Dom, right? They have this conversation. Han's like, I'm out of here. I'm going to Tokyo.
The job's over, and Han's just like, they raided one of our garages.
Yeah.
The heat is on us, so Dom's just like, I think it's time for you to go.
Yeah.
Han's just like, I hear there's action in Tokyo.
Yep. Oh, I guess
Tokyo
we're
drift.
Gonna see him in. Yeah, I guess we're. Yeah. I think I'm gonna drift over to Tokyo and do some drifting. But
the movie.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like the first 4 minutes of the movie. I'm just like, thanks for the paycheck. I'm out.
Yep.
I'll see you in the past.
Yes. Front, back, I don't know. Dom's, I guess gonna run away, gonna stay there or whatever, but he ends up leaving Letty. So,
yeah.
Right?
So they have this moment on the beach, and like Dom's just like, there's a lot of heat on me, and around me is gonna be in big trouble too. And Letty's just like, when has that ever stopped us? And while she's sleeping, he's just like sitting there in the dark, And then he gets up and he leaves her with like 2 fat stacks of money wrapped in one of his gold diamond crusted chains. Just digs out on her.
He just bounces.
And by the way, just to pause here, I never saw this movie ever. Yeah. So this is the first time I've seen this movie.
Me too. This is the first time I've seen it. Yep. And pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Don't give it away.
Also, I'm gonna be
yeah, it was my first time seeing it. Your first time seeing it.
Yeah, it was my first time seeing it, and so but yeah, so we cut back to LA, right? This is where they go back to LA, and
all of a sudden we're
this is where Brian is chasing some dude. All right. So what happens with that?
It's a full-on Jason Bourne scene. Like Brian is wearing a federal agent suit. He looks like one of the guys from The Matrix, and he's chasing this dude.
Yeah.
Full-on parkour scene. Full-on James Bond scene. And they're jumping from like roof to roof, like full speed. And you know what is not real? Like more than the CG. Kalani, do you have dress shoes?
I do.
You ever try walking fast in dress shoes?
I have, yes. Yes.
There's no way this guy has any traction to be sprinting away. Like the first step on the rooftop, he's sliding off. Yeah, they're jumping through. They end up fighting in a swap meet, and Ryan is just like full aggro. Like he is. Guy, all he wants is a name from this guy, and he ends up getting into a gunfight with him just to get a name. And this is where he's talking about David Park, or is that later?
Yeah, so he flies. So the guy like pulls out a gun, runs away. He jumps out of a window and is waiting there to shoot Brian. And then somehow Brian knows to jump through another window to tackle him, so he doesn't get shot. So that's where he pins him down, and he asked him, give him a name, and he said David Parks. That's the dude.
Yeah. He went full Christian Bale Batman on that one. Like, where's Rachel on that?
He did.
I gave up a name.
This is totally making up for it, man.
Yeah. So he got this name, David Park, and he goes back to FBI headquarters.
Yeah.
Which looks a lot more legit for LA than the first movie.
Yeah.
It feels like Justin Lin was really trying to make up a lot of ground that
he really was.
John Singleton made up. They were like a house in the first one.
Yeah, they were in the house in Malibu, the house in the hills.
Ice cappuccinos.
He probably had a favor, and he's like, "We're low on budget. Can I borrow your house?" You know.
Yeah,
that's probably what happened. But they get there. They get the briefing on the dude, right? What was his name? Braga.
Oh, Braga. Yes, they get brief.
A little brief on Braga. He's the main bad guy in the movie that we don't know about. They know nothing about. They don't have a date. They don't even have a date of birth.
Sure, or anything. And David Park apparently recruits street racers conveniently to be drug mules for
street racers.
This Braga guy. So of course Brian's ears just like,
party for one. It was like, me, please. But yeah, so they get that, and then we cut to Dom showing up at Mia's house, at their old house, right?
Well, it cuts to Panama City first.
Okay.
And you know, you're right to not remember that because there's so many jumps between like different parts of the world. I would have appreciated if they had like a world map with just like a green eclipse.
Carmen Sandiego.
Driving with like little dots behind it. Like, kind of so yeah, like Carmen Sandiego. So
Indiana Jones.
And Dom is hiding out there now.
Yeah.
Red Chevelle, and he gets a telephone call on a payphone, and I guess Mia knows the telephone number to a payphone in Panama City.
That's right.
Yeah, she drops the bomb. What she say?
She said, "Letty has been murdered." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, in my notes it was just like, "Oh snap, Letty was murdered." This is not my
goodness. This is not grandpa's either. Yep.
Yeah.
Gosh. I know. Crazy. So I guess they're back in LA after this, right? You see the green line going across the map back to LA at the funeral. And then we see Mia there crying. We see Brian there as a cop, and
that's
then
funny because the funeral is happening right here. You got Mia, you got the casket, and then like in the parking lot, you've got Brian and all the fans and a photographer.
Yeah.
And Mia can't see Brian. Brian's watching her. And then it cuts to Dom standing up on a hill watching Brian. And then Brian has like spider sense now.
Yeah.
He has a Dom sense. He turns on the hill where Dom was. Dom's gone.
Yeah. He's getting his Dom tingles, and he's like, Dom was there. I know it. Yeah. So, and they're there to catch Dom. They know Dom. I guess they set it up. At that point, I thought, oh, did they fake Letty's death so that they could try to catch Dom? That's what I thought. But I don't know.
Man, I haven't seen any of these movies. I don't know. Are you spoiling it?
I don't know. This is my guess. I'm not trying to spoil it for us. I'm just throwing out a prediction. Okay.
All right.
So if you're out there, please don't spoil it for us.
Shame on us.
Yeah. And I might make fake spoiler alerts in this show as well. So
it's fake news,
yeah, fake news. But now Dom goes and talks to Mia.
Looks back to his house, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Mia's in the garage. Dom creepily appears out of the dark, and he sees his Chevy, right? Is it the Charger that's there?
I think it was either a Challenger. I think it was a Challenger.
Because it had the engine sticking out of the hood,
right?
And it was like fixed up, So that's why I thought, oh, is this the car from the first movie that Letty was fixing up? Because she said she was in here all the time fixing this car up, right?
Right. Yeah.
Day and night.
Yeah. It must have been.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. And then Tom goes and he takes a look inside, and what does he see hanging from the rearview mirror? Oh,
I didn't notice. What was it?
It was the diamond crusted cross pendant that he
had. See, I was taking notes furiously. I missed that one. Good one. So
he's like, let me see the crash site.
Yeah.
It's so good when she takes him to the crash site. So they end up going up to the crash site, which has been completely cleared. It's just the road. And they're up on this hill, and the road is there. There's nothing. There's nothing around.
Yeah.
And this is where I started to think, is Dom turning into Batman?
Yeah. Yep.
And he's standing in the middle of the road in the crash site.
Yeah.
And he like takes a knee and he runs his fingers in the dirt. And he looks at his finger. I was just like,
yeah. Yeah. Don't lick it. Don't lick it. Yeah. Yeah. I thought like, yeah, is he Sherlock Holmes now? Like he's just like seeing in his mind everything that happened.
So he became the world's greatest detective. He became Batman.
He did. Yeah. I could go for Vin Diesel as the next Batman.
You know what? I know. So I was watching it, and like I was watching it, and he's like there, and the cars. He's visualizing the accident, like coming to him. Everything around is reconstructing in his mind, like just some super genius. And I held my hand up to the screen,
like, he's Batman. He is. Yeah. He could be Batman.
I mean, Affleck is Quinn and Patterson. I don't know who that's going to be. But anyway, he recreates the crime scene in his mind.
Yeah.
Like, he sees two cars racing around the corner. One crashes into the other, causes the car to flip.
Yeah.
He even knows that, I don't know if he knows the kind of car, but like, the car that flips is Letty's car, and her car's on. on the ground. This happened in front of him, like some kind of super psychic. And he even sees the silhouette of the killer walk past him.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. You know what? He could be Legolas. Yeah.
He was talking.
A hobbit lie here.
Yeah. He
is
like, and I mean the
crazy.
color of the vehicles he knew too, which was funny. So I forget what Mia said. Mia asked him a question. What did she say? Well, she asked him something, and like he replies.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh, yeah, I found something. Oh, you found something, didn't you?
Yeah.
Back at the crash site.
Nitro meth.
Yeah. I was like, wait, drugs?
They're making NOS into meth now?
Yeah.
From nitro, only nitro meth makes that. And only one guy in LA sells that. And I was just, man, this is supposed to take place 5 years after you moved to Mexico. And you think you know that there's only one guy?
Yeah.
The inventory management of like
he does
auto shops. And I mean,
he knows he knows all. He is Batman.
I mean, access to Harry's.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah. Anyway,
I need 2 NOS by tonight. Yeah. So we established that he is Batman. In this, from now on, he is Batman.
I'm gonna mock it up. I'm gonna make it happen.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, anyway, Batman gets the clues that he needs. And cut back to the FBI headquarters, and I guess this Braga case has been dragging on a long time because all of a sudden we got 72 hours to wrap this up. Otherwise, we're all the case.
Yeah. There's always the 72-hour rule in the first one, right? Wasn't there a 72-hour or 48-hour?
I guess the timeline of the movie is going fast and furious because in the first 10 minutes,
it is
already been to 4 countries.
Yeah.
So 72 hours, and it's funny because there's this girl agent that's always with Brian, like it's his and she's kind of the Rome in this movie where she's always asking the question. People explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was the FBI giving the 72-hour rule
deadline. I said, if you guys can't wrap this case up in 72 hours, then we're pulling everybody off the case, right?
Yep.
So Braga, what's his name?
Braga? I think it is Braga. Yep.
Yeah. So he's supposed to be like worse than Pablo Escobar, you know.
Yes.
He's got no pics, no prints, and Letty was working for him.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yes, we find that out.
Now she is deceased. So they've got to find this David Park because that's the only
only lead they have.
That is the only.
And that is our halfway point, guys. We played that song just to let you know that we're halfway through the podcast. You've made it.
You've made it
this far, and we're going to continue.
50-yard line. Yeah.
Yes. And then they get a call, right? And they spot Dom in his or his red Chevelle in the neighborhood, right? So they know he's back.
Yes,
and this is where they we already kind of explained the crash site, but I think that's where they and Dom knows that she was murdered, and Mia is like, don't do it, don't go after them, you don't have to do it, you don't want to do it before it's too late. And then Dom is like,
it's already too late.
And he's officially
Batman. I was like, that's exactly what I was waiting for him to just pull the towel over his head and jump out, you know?
Yes.
So from this super serious scene, it just cuts to Brian sitting in a car eating hot dogs.
Yeah.
and flipping through files of all the David Parks in LA, right? Yeah, it's just like David Park, no, David Park, no, David Park. And and Mia after this conversation with Dom, which is so funny because she gets dropped off by Dom. Yeah. And back at their house. Yeah. She gets out, she walks like 5 feet and the FBI stops her. I mean, it could have gotten down.
Yeah. Hey, who's that guy in the muscle car that just drove away that looked a lot like Dominic Toretto?
Yeah, so they stop her, and now we know there's always like a jerk face FBI or LAPD agent in every Fast and Furious movie.
Yes.
And the agent's name in this movie is Officer Stazak.
Oh, is that his name? I didn't even catch that one this time.
So he's the guy who takes Mia in for questioning. Yeah. So they're back at the headquarters, and Mia's sitting in this interrogation room, and Brian comes into the headquarters and he sees her there, right?
Yeah.
Why does he see her? Because this is like a RoboCop headquarters, it's a futuristic office, and the interrogation room is floor to ceiling glass. So everybody in the common area at their desk working on computers, just like looks like what's her name's daughter. It's like so Mia's sitting in that glass.
In that glass room. It's so Batman doesn't come in and do his thing. Like so
the lights don't turn off and then turn back on, and Batman's there to punch him in the hands.
Yeah.
So Brian gets on the phone right in front of his partner, and he's just like, he falsely impersonates another agent. He's like, "This is Agent Forsyth down in evidence, and I need Stazak down here to sign off on some greenies ASAP." And his partner just sees this, and she's just like, she's like, witnessing a crime, basically. She's witnessing a crime, and she
should be like, internal affairs.
I'm gonna stay out of it. Yeah, I'm gonna stay out of it. So he calls us in. Stazak gets called out of the interrogation room, and Brian goes in there, and he commits another crime because he continues to falsify. And he was just like, "There's been a request to transfer the witness." And the guy was like, "Okay,
yeah, I trust you,
Brian." Yeah. So then Brian takes her on a date.
Yeah,
they just leave. They leave the station.
That's one way to set up a date. They do. Yeah. I just broke you out of prison.
Yeah.
You want to go to dinner?
You want to go to a coffee shop? And that's where they go.
Yeah. So they're having their conversation.
But it's funny because before they leave, Brian's partner, who's witnessing all the crimes, he has her do paperwork. Like poor agent. I don't know where. I think her name is Agent Trin. So she never leaves the building in this entire movie.
Yeah.
She is a full-fledged agent, just like Brian. Yeah. But what does he say? He tells her before he leaves, he's just like, "I've narrowed it down to 50 David Parks." So he gives her all the paperwork, and you're just like, you figure out who it is.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, okay." Thanks.
Yeah. Is this where she's like, "This could take weeks," and he's like, "And?" So, is this your burger? So,
exactly.
That's what happens.
Exactly. Yeah. So now they're at the coffee shop and they're talking.
Yeah.
And what happens then?
Before the restaurant, though, don't they go to the garage? And that's where
Toretto,
Dom.
Toretto goes to visit the only guy in town that sells nitro meth.
Yeah.
The guy's just minding his own business, working on his car underneath the car. And Dom like pulls him out from under the car, and he was like, "You sell any nitro meth to a green Ford Torino?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I don't know."
Yeah.
And he goes back under his car, and I think he
flexes. He tries to flex on Dom. He's like, "This ain't your hood no more." And then he goes on, and then this is where Dom turns into like Nick Fury or something. I don't know. He turns and he just like pulls the guy out.
He turns into Bane.
Yeah.
He's the most yoked I've seen in any movie. Even Pitch Black, I don't think he was this yoked. He was.
Yeah, he was good.
He was thick in this movie.
He was John Wick. Yeah, he pulled a John Wick a little bit. where he pulled him out of the car and he's, John Thick. Yes.
Yeah.
But he smashed this guy in the car.
And he lowers an engine block right above the guy's head, and he's holding it there. And the guy gives up David Park's name, right?
Yeah. He tells him that it's David Park. So now the cops know about David Park, and Dom, Batman, John Thick knows about David Park too.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Then it cuts to the coffee, the restaurant.
The coffee. Yeah. So Brian and Mia are having a awkward conversation because he dug out, right? In the first movie. He just left Dom, and she's all heartbroken and stuff. Yeah.
He's like, so why'd you do that to me?
There's this one line that Mia says, just like, she said, she blames Brian for ripping her family apart. I was like, I think the crime ripped your family apart.
Kind of the truckers probably were more responsible.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as those truckers took it into their own hands, man. I mean, really, Brian helped. Brian helped. So, and she had this line that was similar to Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight. I keep coming back to it because this is a Batman movie.
This is a Batman.
It was like another version of saying, like, you either die a hero or stick around long enough to become a villain. So she's just
I like that line.
Are you really a bad guy playing a good guy, or you're a good guy?
Yeah, a really bad guy. Yeah. It was. Are you a good guy pretending to be a bad guy, or a bad guy pretending to be a good guy?
Yeah,
I think it was something like that. Yeah. And he's like, I mean,
if somebody asked me that question, I know I would be the same. I would just be like, I'm not following. What you're talking about. Yeah. And then she asks him another question right after that he doesn't know. She's just like,
yes.
Why'd you let Dom go that day?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And he's also like,
I don't know. Yeah. He's not very insightful, this guy. But but then it cuts to the police station, and it's so funny. They're going over the David Parks, and they're listing all these cars, right?
Yes, it's so funny.
It is.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was hilarious because they're listing like all these like normal cars, and then she tries to glaze past a 240 with an illegal mod. Okay, a 240 SX.
It's the same as her saying, okay, I narrowed down. I did all that paperwork that you asked me to do because you were too lazy to do it while you were gone. And I did it in record time. You went for coffee, and I went through all 50. Yeah. And she's just like, we got one David Park who drives a shopping cart. We got one David Park who drives a lawnmower. We got one David Park who owns a skateboard. And one David Park with a Nissan 240 SX with all kinds of illegal mods. We also have a David Park with a surfboard. And Brian's just like, wait. Go back one.
And he's just like, what happened?
She's like, it's the 240. And she's just like, how do you know? He was like, because that's what I would drive.
That's what I would drive. You know, I couldn't drive a shopping cart, so I'm going to go with the 240.
Oh, man, dude.
Yeah. That was funny.
I laughed out loud. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was not obvious at all. You know?
Yeah.
But so next they both are on to the David Parks, but Dom finds him first. And then what happens when Dom finds him?
Yeah, so Dom finds David Park before Brian does. They both pull up at the same time because these guys are so in sync with each other that they're basically like answering each other's sentences. I mean, it's really setting up the bromance. Like,
it does.
Like, they're showing up at the same spot at almost the same time. Toretto gets up there, punches David Park's door down. Like, he is also a Terminator in this movie.
Yes.
And he is definitely a Terminator in this movie. He punches the door down. He grabs David Park and he hangs him. He just takes him and hangs him one leg out the window. And Brian sees this happening and he comes running up. And Dom, still holding him, just turns his head like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. That was amazing.
he just has this conversation. I'm a cybernetic organism who's been sent back from the future to you. It's like, and Brian decides not to tell him to like. I wanted him to tell Dom like, let him go.
Yeah.
Oh man! But they decide to have a conversation like,
drop him.
Yeah. Where were you when I needed you? Oh, funny you asked me that. And even David Park is hanging upside down. Just like, can you guys have this conversation?
Yeah. Has some comedy in there. Comedy in that window. And so we find out that there's a race. He's like, I can't get you to do. I don't know. I'm just a middleman. But all I can do is get you in the race. And they're like, whoa, what race? And so we find out about a race. We don't know anything.
And Dom at this point, like, so they're in David Park's apartment finding out about this race. And Dom literally, you're seeing him transform into Batman or Bane or Terminator, because the lines that he's saying in this is just like, I'm gonna kill this Braga and anyone else who gets in my way. I was like, ooh, what's happening?
Yeah.
Dang, man.
And then I think he confused David Parks with a microphone, because then he dropped them, right? And then that's when
he did.
Brian he was doing his pose from the first movie with his arms open, and he ended up dropping David Parks. But there's
luckily
a towel.
There was like a towel or something that had been wrapped around his leg and hooked David Parks just in time.
Just in time,
right? For Brian to catch
keep
him.
the movie PG-13. And so Brian was able to get him, but he lost Dom. So Dom gets away.
He did.
And then
because I mean, what a Batman move, right?
Right. Yeah. Yes. Right? He has his. Oh man.
He just grappling hooked out of the scene.
You know, I think they took a lot from Batman. Yeah. We cut back to the FBI agency, right? They go back there.
Oh man.
And the other agent is all mad at Brian. He like comes up and tries to step to Brian, and like Brian just smashes his head into a wall and then knees him. So the other dude is all buzzed. I don't know what this is. That this what's that dude's name? I don't know that agent's name.
Sadak or he
smashes that dude. And he smashes that dude, and then but the lead agent comes over. He's like, go clean yourself up. What did he say? This isn't the minor league. This isn't the Girl Scouts.
It's not the Boy Scouts.
Not the Boy Scouts. Go clean yourself up.
Your face right now. So so Brian takes David Park in, and they have to set him up for tomorrow night's race conveniently, right? Because they have 72 hours. Can you imagine if the race was happening next week?
Yeah. Oh man, we have 72 hours. We're not going to make it. Yeah.
So Braga's having another audition, and this is where like, okay, this is really reminiscent of Too Fast, Too Furious now.
Too Fast, Too Furious, yeah.
Racers need to audition to work for a criminal to be carriers of money or drugs.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what's happening. It's going to happen in Koreatown. They already have 3 racers, and David Park's going to set up the 4th, right?
Yeah. We're back to needing 4 racers.
We're back to needing 4 racers. Brian being the 4th, according to the FBI.
Yeah.
But Dom is also going to be there. So we got 5 racers, back to the odd numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it gets fun because Brian gets to pick a car, right? Like he's back in his world. So they have a full video wall of all the cars in impound, and Brian
impounded,
I'll take that one, and that one. And he picks like 2 Skylines, and I don't know what else he picks. I don't know what
it was a Type R, something Type R, like a Integra or something like that. I don't know. I didn't really look that one up, but it was an import. But at the same time as he was like, he took all 3 and he put them into one car. He took the best from all of them. And put them
that's
into
what
one
I got
car.
from it too. That's what I got from it too. Yeah.
And while that was happening, Dom was getting his muscle car ready for the same race. And so that was that was a good sequence. I like that.
And it was cool because they were, again, showing that they share the same brain.
Yeah, that's true.
They're both fixing cars and painting them. And mind you, I don't know how Dom did it because, okay, this is 24 hours or less.
Right.
Dom not only finishes building the car that Letty has taken years, he's also able to paint it. He sanded, fully prepped the car and then painted it in his garage without proper ventilation.
And he's going to drive. He's going to be pretty tired while he's driving.
And then he's got to be on it and drive. But thankfully, he's on some kind of Bane medication.
He's Batman.
He's not sleeping in this movie.
No, there's no sleeping. They only got 72 hours. There's no sleeping.
So Dom now has like a gray Chevelle because he painted it from red. And Brian paints his into a blue Skyline.
Yeah. Was that what it was? A Skyline. It was a Skyline.
Huh? Yeah.
Okay.
It was a nice car. Yeah.
It was dope.
So then they show up in Koreatown at this driving range. Driving range.
It was.
It was a driving range that was doubling as a meetup for this race.
Yeah,
and what happens?
So there's a character that's pretty awesome. I thought we might see him later, but we weren't. His name was Dwight. He was a muscle cars driver, and he had some words. I thought he was a character. And then Wonder Woman shows up, and we're like, hey, Wonder Woman's here.
We're just gonna call Gal Gadot Wonder Woman. I didn't know she was in this movie, and she just rolls into the scene while this guy Dwight is standing in front of his muscle car flexing on Brian.
Yeah,
and she just shuts him up, and and as that's happening, Dom shows up, giving stink eye to Brian. So at this point, Brian and Dom are still just they hate each other, or Brian doesn't hate Dom, but Dom is basically Tyrese in this movie. Remember what happened in 2 Fast 2 Furious? I hate you, Brian. Same thing.
Yeah.
They're going to fight. They already fought.
They're going
to learn to love each other again. Spoiler alert. So,
pretty much.
So, Braga's goons show up, right? And they take him upstairs to meet this guy named Campos.
Yeah. And
Campos is hitting balls on the driving range. And he says that Braga needs real drivers.
Yeah.
So this race is going to be on the real streets with real traffic. Yeah. Nobody's closing off.
Because one of them is like, hey, wait, who's closing off the roads? And they're like, the roads are open. Yeah. And because we need the real drivers.
And Dom's like, what are we hauling?
Yeah. He like questions them, right? Questions them.
He's like, with what Braga is paying you, you don't need to know. And Dom's just like, real drivers need to know what we're hauling. Like,
real drivers know what's in their car.
Yeah.
And then
that's
steps
when
up.
This other dude steps up. His name's Phoenix.
His name is
and
Phoenix.
He was telling Dom to calm down, and Dom's just like, are you the boss?
Yeah.
Or is he the boss?
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was Dom was flexing a little bit, and he's like, don't you guys know I'm the new Batman? And they're like, they didn't know yet. They didn't know yet.
You will.
Right.
Yeah.
So then they actually cut to the race, the audition, right? The trial.
Yep.
Yeah. And this
is
a crazy race.
They're giving these GPS tablets, and this is when the movie takes a break and becomes a video game because they don't know ahead of time where they're going to race. This GPS system will show them, not only will it show them the route, but it shows them an animated icon of their car driving in real time. I mean, like the only time it's a Tesla. It's a Tesla Type S, basically kind of system.
Yeah.
It
was great technology.
So this race is awesome because they're going through traffic. Early on, a couple of the cars get T-boned and flip, and they're out. Yeah. They weren't a big part of this story anyway.
No.
And Brian gets sidetracked off of the course, and the GPS keeps rerouting, right?
But he's ignoring it because he has a plan. We don't know the plan yet.
Because like Luke Skywalker, when he like is doing the trench run and he lifts up the
yeah.
visor.
That's what he did. Yeah.
He closes his eyes and Obi-Wan's just like, use the Force, Luke.
Yes.
That's all Brian needs. He doesn't need GPS.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're racing, and then Brian is off track, but he's like, no, because there's no way to get to where they're going. He has to backtrack. But he's like, forget that. So he goes according to the map towards where he's supposed to go, and it's cut off. But he goes right next to the freeway where Dom and the other guy are still flying it, and he's above them on the grass or something, and on like a side road above it. And so he's running out of room, and he has to cut through the fence and go down the hill onto the freeway. And then he pulls up next to Dom I think the other guy crashes already, right? The other guy crashes.
Dom and
not yet.
Are side by side.
Yeah.
And Dom, the guy tries side swiping Dom, but Dom speeds up at the last second. The guy loses control and flips over. So now it's just Dom, and you got Brian up here, right?
Yeah.
So Brian jumps down, and they're side by side now.
Yeah.
And Dom shoots his nos, and Brian. What does he say?
He says, "Too soon, Junior," or he did the famous line, that has been said a few times already.
Yep.
It's like too soon. So Brian hits both of his nos, and he starts shooting it in front of Dom. And then what happens?
Dom clips his tail. He clips Brian's tail at the last second, causing Brian to fishtail out of control.
Yeah.
Right. And Dom wins. And he says, "Still a buster."
Still a buster.
It was a good line.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
It was a good. Yeah. Buster brought me back.
Buster. Yep. The Buster brought me back. And so Brian gets out and he says, "I almost had you."
Yeah, he pretty much did.
He pretty much did
says,
that again.
At least we know you can't beat me straight up.
Yeah.
And Dom's just like, "Oh, I didn't know there were rules."
He's like, winning's winning.
Exactly.
They had the first race all over again right there.
Yep.
But anyway, Dom wins, and then they cut to the bar
Wonder
scene.
Woman shows up.
Wonder
Woman shows up first, and she's just like, "I need your fingerprints and your phone number."
Oh, yeah.
Fingerprints for Braga, phone numbers for me.
With the wink.
For those of you listening, I just seductively winked.
Yes.
Yeah. So then, and then just like in Too Fast and Furious, they're just like, "Meet me at a club at midnight for further instructions."
There may or may not be a rat there.
Watch episode 2 for that reference.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So they're in the bar.
Club scene. Yeah. Dom is there at the club, and he sees Brian playing pool, and he's like, "What's this buster doing here? I won. I'm a employee now." But why is Brian there? Did we skip a scene?
I think we did.
I think we skipped the scene, right?
Yeah.
Because right after the race, Dom is now an employee of Braga. Brian's leaving with his tail between his legs, and he passes Dwight in his muscle car. I guess he didn't race. I don't know what happened to Dwight. He was standing at his car the whole time. Dwight likes to call him out and say, what did he say about his tuner? He goes, "You want to race a real car? Use an American muscle car."
Oh, yeah, muscle beats tuner every time. Something like that, right?
Yeah. And Brian's just like, all right, I got your number. Cuts to Dwight at his beach house or whatever with all these girls having a party, and FBI raid him. It's so funny when they come in, and you recognize the FBI agent's voice. He's wearing a balaclava, and it's Brian, who likes to do these Johnny Tran raids, man.
Yeah.
And he plants drugs on Dwight, and that secures Brian the runner-up spot as an employee for Braga, because now Dwight can't be trusted, right? So
Yep.
So that's why he's at the club.
That's why he's there. Yeah.
And Brian and Dom are at the bar now. Yep. Yeah. And they're both talking like, Dom's just like, "Well, what's stopping me from telling him that you're a cop?" What does Brian say?
He's like, "The same thing that's stopping me from telling him what you're going to do, which is your plan is to kill Braga." Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Campos shows up. You know, Braga's henchman, right?
Yeah.
So he takes him, and I don't know what the purpose of them coming to this club was.
No.
Other than to, you know,
to show that they still don't like each other, that they're still, you know, rivals. So what happened?
Well, they sit down with Campos, and Campos basically he says that Braga is just like us. You know, he climbed his way out of the barrio, and he could tell that there was tension between Brian and Dom, and Dom's just like, "You dated my sister," and he's like, "Oh, you're still alive? You're a lucky man."
Yeah.
And then Campos's henchman comes up and says, "Oh, you know, we got to go." So he leaves, and Brian follows him, and he sees him go into this back room, and he sees through sort of a little crack that Campos is talking to somebody, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time this is happening, Dom decides to go on his own investigative Dark Knight scenario. He takes an elevator downstairs, and he finds the green Ford Torino. So he's checking out that car that he saw in his premonition, his waking dream that he had.
Yeah.
And
he's like, "That's the car."
Yeah. And then Wonder Woman shows up out of the shadows, and she tries to seduce him.
Yeah, but he ain't having
she's just like, he's like, "What kind of car you like? What kind of ladies you like?" And he describes a lady, and I mean, really, it's on her, because he just described the type of lady he likes, and then she says, "Well, I'm not any of those things." and then he just leaves. I was just like, "That's on you. You should have been like, all of those things that you said are exactly me all the time."
Yes.
All of my favorite
It's like going in for a job interview, and they says, "We need this, this, and this." Oh, I can't do any of that.
It's like, "Oh, okay. Tell us why you want to be a flight attendant." "Oh, I hate flying."
Yeah. Hired. So we find out that
was a weird scene. I don't know why they had that scene.
Yeah. But it was actually a great quote. I didn't write the whole thing down, but pretty much he's describing Letty, right? And how she's 20% angel, 80% devil, or something like that. Right. And a homegirl likes to get grease in her fingers and stuff, right? And then so that was like, I'm gonna stay faithful to Letty, you know. That was and that was that scene. And then I guess it cuts to Brian.
Brian brought his dirty shot glasses that he stole from Campos. That he saw cheersing, and he takes it back, and he gives it to his poor partner. There's a little Blockbuster Braddahs.
Yes, a little Blockbuster Braddahs just stepped in to say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night, son. Love you. So
Brian comes in with the shot glasses with the fingerprints.
You're right.
And his partner, who's doing her own work, right, and her own responsibilities. And she woke up that day. She looked at her calendar. She's like, "Hey, these are the things I need to do today." Brian comes in, puts the glasses on her desk, and he's just like, "I got these dirty shot glasses. I need you to run the prints." And it's so funny because she passive aggressively, to me it sounds passive aggressive, but to try and push him off, she's just like, "Wait, so you want me to take the prints off of these glasses?" And he was like, "Oh, by the way, I want you to contact individual agencies to run it across their databases." And she's like, "That could take weeks." And he's like, Yep. You know, we're still on the 72 hours.
We still got 72 hours, but you go ahead and take those weeks.
Yeah. So she has to drop everything she's doing now, right? I wanted to see a scene where like she like picks up her phone and dials, and she's like, "Hello, Grandma.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to make it to your 80th birthday party."
I got to contact agencies. Yeah. So sorry, Grandma. Yeah.
So
GPS goes off.
GPS coordinates. On his tablet that he's supposed to keep with him, right? So what does he do?
It's time for the job.
Rendezvous point. He has to meet up.
Yep. So he meets up. They go to this undisclosed warehouse, and they pull into the warehouse, And he gets this because he's driving down the street too fast and too furious. And his boss calls and he's like, "Hey, Brian, slow down," right? Because they got him on the GPS too. And he's like, "Okay," and he speeds up, right? So they're all mad at him. But he pulls into this warehouse and he sees all the other drivers there. Dom is there. All the bad guys are there. And
Campos,
Campos is there. Yep. And so he sees that they're searching for bugs or trackers, right? And so he knows that he has one in his car. And conveniently, in his center console. It's
like
buried in his center
right
console.
there next to his handbrake, so he could be like, it's not planted under the car. I mean, it would be end credits if it was planted under the hood.
Right, yeah.
But it's in the center console. He's trying to like fish it out without looking too obvious. But it's so funny because
he
face
makes
that
a
he's
face.
making, he's like
yeah, he's got the constipation look on his face.
Dude, it's so funny. Like, it would have been so funny if Toretto was just looking. It's like, man, that guy's farting in his car right now.
Yep.
Yeah,
like,
but so he disconnects it. He disconnects it just in time for them not to find it. But at this point, the FBI has tracked him to this warehouse.
Yeah.
Like when the tracker goes off, they're like, it's gone off. They've gone dark. It's like, well, that they're at the warehouse.
Yeah.
I mean, thermal imaging, satellite imaging. Let's do something.
Yes.
So
I think they had that in the last one, right?
I mean, look at the technology that the bad guys have.
They had the Terminator gun in the last one. They should at least be able to.
They had the Terminator gun. Yeah. But they were fooled in the last one. So anyway, all the cars get loaded up with the drivers into the back of a furniture truck. Yeah. And this also, when that furniture truck left the warehouse, the FBI should have been like, well, we know that people were in the warehouse. And we saw something big enough to transport multiple vehicles out of the warehouse.
FBI needs work.
So yeah. So this big truck is transporting them. It takes all the cars and the drivers down to Mexico. They arrive at nighttime.
Yeah.
Right. And
well, they're not. They say they're in Mexico, but they haven't crossed the border yet, right?
They're near Mexico. Right. That's true.
So this is crossing the border. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what this scene is. And then they said that earlier. They say that that Phoenix is going to meet them there, and Phoenix is the one that Dom is after. And so they all get there, and they said, okay, so they got satellite imaging. They got which FBI should have had, to catch these guys.
Yeah, they've got cameras, helicopters. All
so
things
Border
that
Patrol
I've heard FBI has. Yeah, exactly.
Has more than the FBI, which is cool. Yeah,
they had some Star Trek technology when you showed the inside of the Border Patrol. I was like,
they need to partner with Border Patrol to catch this guy.
Yeah.
But so they said that we need to be real quick, and so they all get into a formation. They start driving towards the border, full speed, in a row, right? And
it's really late at night, and all of their lights are out. They're driving inches away from each other in a single file line.
Yeah.
And these are really powerful muscle cars and import racers. And my question is, what if somebody accidentally tapped their brake light? Tapped their brake.
Yeah.
Like they didn't disengage the brake lights because we see it a little bit later. So this was totally fake to me. But they're driving across the desert.
The desert,
in the dark. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
and it leads them to this Batman tunnel.
The tunnels, yes. So they just get by. They show them just getting by this technology, and they go right into these underground caves. All right. So Dom tries. I don't know, for some reason he leaves the formation and wants to get right behind the dude, Phoenix, right? Because I guess I don't know what he's gonna get him. That's why, right? So they go into these tunnels and they're like ripping it through, and it's like, I don't know, like rat tunnels or something, right? It's like the new Rambo. Have you seen the new Rambo? Where they have the underground tunnels? Yeah. So there's underground tunnels. It's like that. They're going through all these different tunnels and stuff, and the
tunnel's barely big enough for a car to fit through. And these guys are
just
flying
enough.
Full speed, not knowing where the turns are, but they're surgical precision turning and stuff, following somebody. the only person who knows his way.
Yeah.
Going full speed in the dark.
Yeah. So they have to be really on it. And they're trying to hurry so that the helicopters don't see them. Right? Because I guess the helicopters are coming. So
when they come out, the helicopters will see them. So you got Wonder Woman on the radio, and she's just saying, you have 15 seconds, you have 10 seconds, and they barely make it out in time.
They barely make it. They turn around the mountain so that the helicopters fly by and can't see them. Yeah. So they are in they're in Mexico. They made it.
Right. And for everybody who doesn't know what the purpose of them driving, they're hauling $60 million worth of drugs.
Oh, yes.
Across the border. Yes.
Yes.
Because I didn't get that until they got there. I was just like, is this still part of the audition? Are they just trying to get there and then they're going to transport? Apparently they had the drugs in their cars.
They had the drugs,
So,
right.
Yeah.
So they get there, right? And then so they're parking, and I guess they got to the place, and like the bad guys are pulling all the drivers out of their cars to like line them up, right? And I don't know if they're gonna like kill them all. It's like, I got you.
I think that's what was gonna happen. Yeah, you got it across.
Yeah. And so now they're gonna end them. But I think Dom, saw this, but he was he had his own plans. So what did Dom do during this time?
Dom called out Phoenix.
Right? Well, he turned on his NOS.
Oh,
right?
yes. Before he got out of the car, he started he loosened his NOS cap inside his vehicle. So all the NOS gas was coming out. And then he pressed his cigarette lighter and then he got out of the car. So you do the math.
Yes. And so he calls out, they come up, and then Phoenix comes up and he's like, he's about to say something, right? He's about to say something. And then Dom calls him out pretty much, right? And then he's like, what? And he's like, because something about having that meth under his hood, right?
He says, use nitro meth.
Yeah.
And Phoenix gets super offended. He was just like, you looking under my hood? Of course, that's what all racers do, right? Isn't that why you open your hood? You're just like, look what I have under my hood. Yeah. I still don't know what nitro meth is and how it looks and how it's used, but this guy was offended. And I don't know how Letty comes up, but he basically just
I think he just comes out and says it. He's just like, Letty or something like that. She's you killed her, and it was you. Yeah. It was pretty much what Johnny Tran did to him. He's like, the FBI raided my house and it was you. But this time it was like, Letty died and it was you.
I never knocked on nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Phoenix, not taking a hint, was just like, I don't even remember her face.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing her face burn. I was like,
yeah.
What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
He has a gun. Yeah.
I mean, and Dom's just like, I'm really excited for what's about to happen.
What's about to happen? Yeah. And then
his car, being Knight Rider, hears him and activates self-destruct.
Yeah.
And perfect timing, all the cars blow up.
It was the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the cars blow up, and then chaos happens, right? I think Dom punches Dom is like a G in this. He's just like, he's
Remember
Batman.
When I said Dom's a Terminator?
Yes.
He gets shot. Dom gets shot, and he doesn't even Forrest Gump something bit me. He just
nothing.
Like if you're watching it on mute, that scene, you won't know that he got shot because he doesn't even react to it. You hear a gunshot.
And then he looks over his shoulder at the guy. Like,
yeah, dude, he gets shot, and it's just like,
did you just shoot me?
Yeah.
And he runs and he like kicks the dude or whatever, right? So while he's doing that, Brian's trying to he grabs a gun and starts shooting people. They right there, they both jump into the Humvee, the bad guy's Humvee that has all the drugs in it that they had transferred all of it. Yeah, and so they escape in the Humvee and they get away. They launch off the side of a hill and they get away. And then they show them kind of collecting, or they stop and they're collecting themselves, right? And
Brian gets on the phone with the FBI.
Yeah, that's what
signal
happens.
now, and they're just like, listen, you got to bring in the shipment and you got to bring in Toretto. And Brian just like, no. And they're like, yes. And while he's talking, he sees like a trail of blood next to the Humvee, and he walks around the corner, and it's actually not blood. It's actually just what motor oil and gasoline is what Dom bleeds. Yeah. So he's just standing there correct. Like he's not in it. He doesn't have a hard time speaking. He's not, he's totally fine. Yeah. And he's just like, this is what $60 million looks like according to my calculations and my computer brain. And like, and Brian's just like, oh, we got to get you patched up. So he calls Mia.
He calls Mia. Yeah. And they head back to.
But before that though, they have to take the the shipment somewhere, right? So
they have to hide it. Yeah.
Brian has an idea to take the Humvee with the drugs and take it into the police impound or the FBI impound lot. So he breaks the law again by lying to another agent, pulling into the gate, saying, oh, we need a 48-hour hold on this vehicle. Yeah. So they go and they drop it off there, and Mia picks him up, takes him back to the house, patches him up.
Well, they actually, when they're in the impound, Brian's like, I just thought of something. We both lost our cars. You owe me a 10-second car. And then so Dom breaks a window, I guess, in the impound, right?
He breaks so many windows in this movie.
Yeah, and so he has his shirt on this time though. Like Roman did not, but Dom does. Punches this window in, and they take a car. He's like, "We're even now. This is your 10-second car." So we cut to Mia patching up Dom, right? They call Mia, and Mia comes and patches him up. And then
they have a family dinner of Chinese takeout. Yeah. It's kind of a weird scene, but they have to have one meal scene in every Fast and Furious movie. I'm learning. Yes. So since Dom was the first to reach in, he has to say grace. And Mia asks him to say grace, and then she says it over him anyway. She says, thank you for food, friends, and family. Yeah. Dom was about to thank the Lord for like turbo timers and NOS timers and like exhaust valves.
So I didn't mention this, but in Los Bandoleros, there's a eating scene where one of the kids starts to grab the food, and another kid say, "Hey, remember Dom's rule?" And so the kid starts praying over the food. In that scene. And so I hope it continues.
Yeah.
Food, family, and friendship.
I have a good feeling about it. So Dom has a box that just is labeled Letty. It's like, what's in the box? Yeah. So he opens it up, and it's got it's so funny. It's got a framed picture of him and Letty. And like it's like a candid picture of them, laughing together, but it's obviously just like a screenshot from one of the previous movies. It's not a real photo. It's like a press photo from the trailer of one of the past movies. And then he pulls out this inter-office envelope that says FBI evidence or whatever, and he pulls out a flip phone, and he turns it on. And he dials the last number that was called. And if you're keeping track of my oh snap moments, this movie, I've already had one oh snap moment. This is my second oh snap moment. And when he dials a number, whose phone rings?
It's Brian's. Brian's phone rings.
Brian Earl's.
And so Brian has an oh snap moment. He's like, dude, looks at his phone, and it's Letty.
It was it was. I wanted them to play that watch your back song.
Yeah.
Like, because he went full on Bane in The Dark Knight. That scene when he beats up Batman, there was no stopping him. And it was funny because there's this one part of the fight he's beating up there's one part of the beatdown where Dom is choking Brian, and Brian is like, you see his hands come up from off screen, like he's gonna choke Dom, and I was waiting for him to go, "I'm gonna choke you," but he didn't say it.
He didn't do it. He didn't do it this time.
So he got almost choked out, but he does a jiu-jitsu move, right?
Yeah, he throws him in an arm bar.
That move?
It's an arm bar. He throws him in an arm bar, and then Dom picks him up.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
There's a old Pride fight. Arona was the guy's last name. And Rampage Jackson does this move where he picks him up and he slams him and knocks him out. And that's pretty much what Dom did to Brian in this. Yeah.
It was a real Zangief move.
It was
full on Street Fighter.
Yeah. He just muscled him up in the air and slammed on the ground. And this is where he breaks the news, right?
Okay.
He breaks the news to Dom that Letty did it for him. Right. She was working with the FBI, I guess, to go undercover as a driver with this dude. What's his name? Braga, right? Yeah. And she did it so that they would wipe Dom's slate clean, right?
Right. Yeah, so she did it in exchange for Dom, hoping that he'd come back, you know. So that was pretty cool. That was my second oh snap moment.
Yeah, that was a second. So at this point in time, what they're going to do is they're going to try and bargain. So they still want Braga. The FBI, they just want to take the 60 million.
Justice.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Is it
Go ahead.
Not charging?
I'm gonna hold it for the rest of this episode.
Just like that?
Yep.
Okay.
Just like this.
Okay. That sounds good. All right, little technical difficulties in Blockbuster Braddahs, but we are going to move forward. That's
why I need to buy more merch, guys.
Yes. Let's raise some capital, some money to get a tripod charger. Okay.
Yep.
So the FBI is happy with the money, the drugs, and but the whole reason was to catch Braga, and and so Dom and Brian, they want to go back, and they want to use the money or the drugs as bait to get Braga.
Right.
And so they take it to the FBI, and the FBI is like, okay, what's the plan? And so that's what they said. They said let's set up a meeting, right? So they're gonna call Wonder Woman, right? They call Wonder Woman. Yeah. And they're like, hey, can we talk to Braga? And so they set up. Right. That was, or was it? No, they went to talk to the what's his name?
They talked to Campos. And they're saying, listen, we want $6 million and Braga to hand deliver the drugs.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he's never going to do that. And he's just like, either you can tell him that you lost $60 million worth of product, or I can tell him. Yeah. So that was a good play.
Yeah. So they get the meeting, and it cuts right to it. They cut right to the exchange. They go. I think it's a dock because there's a bunch of containers there that the FBI are hiding in. Right. And
nobody's falling for this, by the way. I know.
Yeah. And so
the bad guys know.
Yeah, the bad guys show up, right? And Phoenix is there, right? He comes out, and he comes out like
before this, as everybody's showing up. Brian and Dom have their like, are we best friends?
That's right.
I think we're best friends because Brian pulls out a car key and he gives it to Dom. Yeah. And he's just like, just in case things go sideways. In case you hear the sirens again. Cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So they're back at it. They're back together again. The gang is all back together. So they're having this. So at the same time that this is happening, the partner gets the results back for Braga, right? The fingerprints from the shot glasses, right? And it's a match, but they don't have a face yet. The fingerprints match. They're waiting for the face to come in through fax. For some reason,
everything else is digital, but a picture needs to be faxed. And like this fax is a slow fax.
Yes,
like it's dial-up fax, because when it starts coming, like Braga arrives in this gray suit with a pink tie, and he comes out with $2 million, and he's just like, the rest comes when I get the product. Yeah. And Brian's kind of like, I don't know, this guy's wearing a fancy suit. He's just like, how was it growing up in the barrio? And as that's happening, the fax starts printing out the face, right? Yeah. But we don't see it yet. Yeah. And what's his name? Stasak, the other agent.
The guy that doesn't like Brian, that Brian beat up. Yeah.
He's hiding in the container with the rest of the agents, and he's just like, you know what? We got confirmation. We're gonna move now. And even one of the other agents is just like, well, we're waiting for the face. He's just like, no, we're moving right now. Yeah. And I was like, no. This happened in Too Fast, Too Furious too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They didn't want to wait for confirmation.
You know.
So there's a trend here. And so they arrest Braga, and as the picture prints out, who is it? It's my third oh snap moment in this movie.
Yep. It's the other guy. What's his name? I always forget. Campos. It's Campos. It's the guy. I was like, oh,
that was a good twist. I didn't see that coming. That was pretty good.
That was good. I think I saw like the scene before. I was like, during that scene, I looked at him. I was like, oh, that's Braga. And then
you really? Oh,
yeah, wow. I did. Oh, I thought that might be Braga. Yeah.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, okay. So, only because this guy doesn't. I even told Shanna we're watching. I was like, oh, that guy's, and then it happened. So, yeah. But then they say, oh, that's not him. That's not him.
Stasak screwed it up, and they all run away. Right.
Yeah. And then
and it cuts back to the headquarters, and everybody's just like blaming Brian.
Yeah.
Like everybody, and Stasak's sitting right there. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
Like Stasak's just like quiet, like.
Right. What we do see at the scene though, Dom saves Wonder Woman. I just wanted to say that.
He does. That's right.
Dom, the new Batman, saves Wonder Woman.
She was already digging Dom, and now she's full on in love with Dom.
Yes. Yeah.
So she'll do whatever he wants. Yeah.
Yes, that's important because
it is. Remember that.
Yep.
Because coming up.
So Brian does he get fired, or is he like on like suspension or something?
Brian's always getting fired. So I think it's one of those like, this is the last straw, Brian. And I don't know. I don't know what happens. Yeah. So Brian ends up. I stopped taking notes at this point because I was like, "This is pretty good. I'm just gonna watch now."
Yeah.
And
and
Dom and Brian tag team, and they drive to Mexico, right?
Yeah. And they say we're gonna go after Braga.
Dom's just like Dom's just like, I can't bring anybody back. And Brian's like, yeah, that's cool. I'm in, man.
Yep. Let's go.
Yeah.
So because they go to Mexico. They call up Wonder Woman. She meets them, I guess, right, in her Porsche.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. And she like says, hey, if you're gonna do this, it's suicide. He's like, I know. I have no choice.
Dude, he literally is just everything he says. She's just like melting a little bit more. Like he can say no wrong.
Yeah. He's like, I am Batman. So they cut to Mexico. Braga is driving through this town, and everybody in the town just stops as they drive by. They go to a church.
King of Mexico.
Yeah.
This is a weird scene. He walks into a church with a bag of presumably money, right?
Yeah.
And the priest is super nervous.
Yeah.
And he hands the money over to the priest.
Yeah.
Or the bag over to the priest, and then he asks the priest to bless him.
Yeah.
So the priest blesses him and then leaves with the bag.
Yeah.
And then he's just praying. and all his goons are outside. Do you know what the story is with that? Did I miss something?
I guess drug lords are Catholic, and so it's kind of like Rocky. Before he went to fight, he went and got prayed for.
Yeah.
Like, so I guess they had to go.
Was Campos getting ready for a fight with Dom? Is that why?
I think there's a deleted scene somewhere.
Yeah, that was a weird scene.
Yeah,
and because a really weird scene.
It's like they must have been. There's a side door that the goons weren't guarding because Dom and Brian come in to the church.
They come into the side door, yeah. So while he's legitimately praying, Dom like pulled a shotgun on him.
Yeah.
And we all think that Dom's gonna blow him away, right?
Yeah.
Because he's so pissed off about Letty.
Yes.
But he actually does one better, and he says, Brian, you can take him in.
Yep. Yeah.
You can take
does
him
the right
back,
thing. Yeah.
But you got to save Phoenix for me. Right?
Yeah.
Dom wants Phoenix. And it's so funny because they smuggle Campos or Braga now out the side door.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because one of the goons that's outside the front door is just like, looks at his watch and he's like,
this guy never prays that long. Something must be wrong.
To go walk in. It's so funny. And then just like, oh man, side door. I mean, that's basic goon. Like he had 3 guys at the front door. There should be one guy on each side of the, you know. I mean, guard the window.
We never thought about the side door. Foiled again.
Yeah. So it cuts to this this car chase, of course.
Yeah, the cartel car chase scene. Yeah.
The cartel. Yeah.
The cartel car chase scene. That's what it is.
Yeah, so you got a whole range of cars that are out there. It's so funny because you're used to like seeing import tuners and muscle cars, but you've got like a Lincoln. There's like a huge Lincoln.
You got like a boat out there.
A Cadillac. There's just all kinds of weird cars driving in the dirt. Yeah. And Phoenix is at a chicken fight, and he gets word. And Brian is driving Braga in the Subaru Impreza, and Toretto is just rampaging by himself, right? He's waiting for Phoenix. So Phoenix shows up, and Phoenix starts ramming his own goons' cars, telling him not to shoot at the boss, right?
Right, yeah, because they were shooting, and boss is like, whoa, stop shooting. So
it's kind of a dumb chase scene, and basically it comes down to Dom and Phoenix, right?
Yeah. They're in the middle of the desert. And cars are flying out of nowhere.
So Brian, 2 things. Brian has to make his way back to the U.S. So he has to cross the border. And the way he does that is by going through the tunnels. He takes Campos Braga through the tunnels, and he's being chased. And there's a whole bunch of goons chasing through the tunnels. And these guys don't drive as precision as Phoenix and his crew. So they're just like, the mountains falling down on them everywhere.
Yeah.
And this leads up to one of my favorite scenes in this movie. It's full on Batman.
Yeah.
So Dom is catching up to Brian in the tunnels, and he's racing against Phoenix. And there's only enough room for one car left in this tunnel. They're getting up to a tight spot. So Dom opens one of his doors, and he hits a pole in the tunnel to break the door off, and he drives up side by side with another goon, and he jumps out of his driver's seat through the passenger door into the other goon's car just in time for his car to hit the wall and explode. Totally awesome.
Totally awesome. Yeah, I enjoyed that scene as well. And right before that is when Brian, being chased by Phoenix, flies out of the tunnel, right?
Oh yeah.
And then does like a tumble, right? He the car tumbles over, and him and Braga are down, and then here comes flying out Phoenix, right? Yep. And pulls him out of the car and everything. And he's got Braga. He saves Braga, and then here comes Brian coming out of the car, and then Phoenix comes over and starts to beat him up, and then what happens?
This is a crazy scene because you've got Braga leaning against Brian's car. Brian and Phoenix are fighting, and Toretto comes flying out of the tunnel.
Flying out of the tunnel.
And he's gunning it straight towards Phoenix. And Brian grabs Phoenix's leg and he holds Phoenix in place.
Yeah.
What a tag team assist. He holds Phoenix's leg so that what?
Well, as Dom is driving towards Phoenix is starting to shoot him. Dom does a wheelie. Yeah. Dom does a wheelie to block the bullets.
And he does a wheelie he's already driving. Like, I get it when you're going off the line to do a wheelie.
Yeah. Yes.
But he can just at will lift his car straight up.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how powerful that car is. But so then it comes to so Brian has him, he's about to jump out of the way, right? Mm-hmm. But Brian grabs his foot. And then Dom smashes in to Phoenix, pinning him against the car, which going that speed, I'm pretty sure would have just cleaned out the car.
Phoenix just would have exploded, like explosion. It's so funny how there's like no blood. And like Dom gets out of the car and it cuts to Phoenix, who's just the actor just like laying on the car. It's so funny.
It is.
Like,
it's like I'm pretty sure that would have been worse.
Intestines and everything, man. Like it should just be like a splat.
I think, and Brian, everybody should have been like 300 feet down down the desert.
The shockwave from the car dropping back down would have thrown everybody. Yeah. Dude, like there's no physics. There's no physics. But I think we're getting a taste of the physics leading up in the future movies.
Yes. And so, but it was an epic scene. You know, while I was watching it, I was all caught up. I was like, yes, they won.
Know, me too. Me too. I was just like, wow, this is okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm digging it, man. Yeah.
And then they cut to back to
all the cops and all the helicopters show up. Yeah.
They hear sirens, helicopters, and I guess Brian's like, go, run. And then what does Dom say?
I'm done running.
And then Brian asks him a question, right? He's like, he's like, I almost had you. He's like, you gotta admit, you can't beat me, right? I would have won, right?
Yeah. He was like, I would have won if you didn't cheat. And like he's holding like his guts in.
Yeah.
Brian's like dying. And Toretto's just like, what did he say?
He said, I think
maybe you're more injured. I think you hit your head.
Yeah, I think you hit your head a little
bit. Like, don't make me laugh.
Come on. Yeah. Like, give me it. I'm about to die.
I know.
Lie to me.
Yeah. That was a good scene. I like that.
Yeah. And I must say, and I'll repeat it at the end, but I feel like Paul Walker's acting got a lot better.
Dude, way better. Way better. He
did a really good job.
He dialed the bro
he
back
did.
Way
he
back.
did. Yeah. And I think he did a good job. But so this scene is over, and they cut to Dominic on trial. Dom is on trial. And what happens? What happens at the trial?
Well, first of all, he's as yoked as The Rock in this. This scene. Like, he's huge in this movie.
Yeah.
So he's standing there, and the judge is just like, "Hey, we recognize that you helped solve this case, and Officer Brian O'Connor, has vouched for you, but we believe that one good thing doesn't erase all the bad crap that you've done.
Yeah.
So sentence you to 25 to life at Lompoc." And I was like, "Dang,
yeah, he's going back.
He did." Hard time of 3 years or 2 years.
2 years already.
In the first movie.
He's going back to Lompoc.
Yeah.
So it was. But as soon as the judge started talking about that, Brian's like, "I'm out of here. I can't handle this." Right? He's like, he left the courtroom.
Gets up and leaves. He leaves. Yeah. He leaves me again.
He does. It's crazy.
He just walks out. Yeah. So cut to the bus that's taking all the prisoners to Lompoc. And in the middle of nowhere on this single lane road, and what do we see?
I got excited about this scene. I was
Dude,
like,
I was just gonna say, man, I was just like,
oh yes, yes.
Dude,
yeah. So
I had no idea. I didn't know where it was gonna go.
I was like, is this just gonna end? But what do we see? We see Dom pulling up.
Brian.
Okay, what are the cars? Oh, I'm sorry, Brian pulling up in Dom's car. Is that what it was?
It looked like it
was a muscle car.
Like a Grand National, but it might have been. I don't know if that was a Monte Carlo. But yeah, it was a black muscle car.
Brian is finally in a muscle car, right?
Yeah.
Mia's there. She's a crazy. Yeah. We see in the first one that she can drive.
She's driving an NSX.
An NSX, right? And then Leo
the two
and
guys that we don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget the other guy's name. He was in the Los what is it?
The Bandoleros.
The Bandoleros movie.
Yeah.
And but they all show up. And they're chasing after the bus, and they're about to pull the heist again. So they're about to break Dom out.
Awesome.
And then Brian's car drives in front of the bus, right into the camera, and then we see the Fast and the Furious credits start to roll. And I was like,
that was a good ending. Yeah, I was pretty psyched, man. And like, I was hoping that there was going to be a post-credit scene, like.
Yeah, there wasn't.
Or something, because
I guess that was. They should have like made that the post-credit scene. But
that would have been good. Yeah, him being sentenced the end, and then the post-credit them breaking him out.
Being breaking him out. But it was good.
Dude.
It was and that was the movie. It did show Dom like smiling, I guess, because he heard the engines, right? And so he's like, oh, I know it's about to happen.
He heard it. It was awesome, man. It was awesome.
So that was pretty much. So that's pretty much the movie. That was it.
Yep.
That was Fast and Furious, and this was our episode 3. So let's go like final thoughts on the movie, and then we'll start wrapping it up. Yeah.
I liked it, man. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know what to expect, and it being 6 years after Too Fast, Too Furious, I was expecting more of the same. Like, how many times can you show a ludicrous race? But it had ridiculous races in this one, but it had a pretty cool story too.
It did.
I liked it, and it fooled me a couple times. And some of the action, I mean, it's expected, it was over the top, but the ending was good. I like that they sentenced him, and then that really sets up Brian for like, okay, I want to see what's going to happen with these guys now that they're really just like full on criminals now.
Yeah, they are. Yep, they are out there. They're prison breakers. And I totally agree.
So I guess that answers Mia's question, right? So he's the bad guy who's been pretending to be good.
He's the bad guy pretending to be good. Yep. That wraps that up. But for me, this movie was better by far than the first two. Like,
yes,
by far. And we needed the first two to be in history, but this one was a lot better.
Well, I feel like it made me care a little bit more about the characters in the first two. I didn't like whatever happens to these guys. Yeah. But yeah, him and Dom and Brian's friendship, I was just like, I want to see more of this. It's pretty cool.
I think bringing Dom and Brian back together is definitely positive. It needed to happen. Like I said, Paul Walker improved greatly in his acting in this movie. The story and the plot was a lot better to me. Something that you could follow along, a beginning, middle, and end. Like it came together.
Right.
But some ridiculousness. That the tunnel scenes were crazy, unrealistic, a lot of it. But I think I'll allow it. Because that's kind of what people tune in for. So that was good. So that's pretty much my final thoughts on it. Ready to give the Shaka score?
Yes.
On 3?
Okay. One. I only have one hand because I'm holding my hand.
Oh, okay. So I think I know what it's going to be.
Hold on. Hang on.
Wait.
Okay. if my battery dies during this, then it was worth it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
You ready?
Count it up.
1, 2, 3.
Two Shakas for this one.
Yeah, man.
And I don't know if it's because of how bad the first two were and how much they improved, but I would watch this one again. Yeah.
Yeah. I would too.
This one had a lot of it was a lot better. It was a lot better.
It was an hour 40 something minutes, but it didn't seem long. It was good. Yeah. It seemed short actually compared to like Too Fast and Furious. That movie seemed long.
It did.
It was painful to watch.
Yes, and so that was pretty much it.
Prediction.
Yes.
What is your prediction on Truckers for the next movie?
Trucker.
I feel like at this point we're three in now, and each movie has started with a trucker scene. I don't know if it's in the story contract or what. I don't know.
I'm gonna say my prediction is truckers are still involved, and they might take a bigger role this time. I think they might take matters into their own hands in this next movie.
I predict at least one big rig truck related accident in the next one.
Yes. I mean, they are the most dangerous things on the road. So let's do that. But that's pretty much it for this episode. So thank you guys for tuning in. Leave a comment. Let us know what you thought. Okay, so a few things. Leave a review on iTunes. Subscribe on YouTube. All right. And why don't you check out blockbusterbraddahs.com and let's help Frank get a charger for his phone. This is fun, Frank.
Yeah, man. I'm having a lot of fun.
This is fun.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. It's really, really a lot of fun for us. So, and I'm getting to watch movies that I've never seen. So, so it's good for me.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll see you in the next episode. Aloha.
Shoots. Aloha.